Keynote speaker, you have a mid-runner and you space. So we have to watch this stuff. Yes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's lively here. We're 3 seconds away before we commence. I just want to say a lovely day to you. Good to see you all in beautiful attire this Friday afternoon. This session is called to order. My name is Junisa Kalon. I'm serving as Director General of the Youth Association of Sierra Leone. And in my humble capacity, I was opportune to see that we held a side event, an in-person side event, which has to look at a very, very crucial topic. A topic that has to do with the current status of our sisters, our daughters who are in school and who are out of school, our youth who are so devastated by the socio-economic impact of COVID and other situations that we find ourselves in Sierra Leone and beyond the world. I want to thank every one of you for coming here in person. I want to appreciate the honorable ministers of government who made time out of their very, very busy and all-important schedule to make it a point of duty to be present here. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to formally acknowledge the presence of certain high-profile personalities who are here not only as speakers, but also here to represent the Republic of Sierra Leone during the ongoing CSW. Let me start off with the Honorable Minister of Gender, Dr. Asata Mahoy. She is one of the most eloquent, active cabinet ministers since the inception of the Julius Maada Bio administration in the Republic of Sierra Leone. She has been very, very efficient in delivering her mandate, and that's the mandate of His Excellency the President. And she has been very, very active in ensuring that the matters of children are taken into consideration. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister of Social Welfare, Mrs. Melrose Cummington. She is also a very dynamic personality. She has been very active in addressing the issues of youth, especially our disabled youth. We are almost at every other given point in time badging into our office without appointments. And she's been very, very accommodating and ensuring she looks into the matters at hand. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the gender advisor to the President, who is also the former Minister of Social Welfare. I want to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Deputy Minister of Health too, Angelica too. She's one of the most dynamic young personality. We are coming from a country where our President took it upon himself to ensure that 30% quota must be given to women in office. And Dr. Jellicat is one of those serving as a living testament of His Excellency putting his word to action. So I want to acknowledge her presence. I also want to acknowledge the presence of our mother. We say in our local dialect, the Peking Mama, the commissioner for the kids. I want to acknowledge your presence here, Ma. And as we have walking in, the very dynamic Deputy Minister of Tourism. She is the face of Sierra Leone, tourism-wise. As you can see, she chooses to enter the best time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for making it a point of duty to be here for this particular session. I want to appreciate the directorates of the respective line ministries, because without these directors, without these executive secretaries, we cannot be having efficient running cabinet ministers. We will not be able to have pertinent issues such as what we are going to be discussing in a couple of minutes delved into thoroughly. I, in my own humble capacity, am serving as a young representation from the people of Sierra Leone. Yes, I serve as Director General for the organization hosting this event, the Youth Association in Sierra Leone. But I'm here to amplify the representation of the youth of Sierra Leone. This is a clear example to show that in the Republic of Sierra Leone, we are giving amplified platform to give contribution, meaningful contribution to issues that are bugging our society. Over time, we have been blaming government, we have been blaming the UN and other donor partners that we're not giving space. I want to thank CSW, the NGO committee team. I want to thank the UN Women and the United Nations family for giving us this platform to ensure that young voices are well coordinated, well put together, and we're hosting a successful side event here addressing sexual and reproductive health for girls and women, economic empowerment for women and youth in general. Without much ado, I would like to call to the center, or should I say the front, our moderator. She's a very dynamic personality. She flew all the way from Serbia, and before Serbia, she was in Canada. She had to be in the hospital for 8 hours, and I told her, you're not permitted to miss this particular important meeting. I know it's very hectic for you to fly all the way just for this particular meeting, but it is very crucial because it is a living testament that when we are requesting for spaces to make the necessary impact in society, we must own up to our responsibility to deliver as expected. Madam Perry-Sterling, kindly please take the front as the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall be having 2 sessions today within the 90-minute window which we have. The first session is thoroughly looking at sexual reproductive health, education for girls and our women. Purposefully, we had to put together these 2 dynamic and elastic topics because we see from Sierra Leone's perspective with the current situation which our president, our First Lady, Her Excellency, Madam Fatima Bio, the Honorable Ministers of Health, Social Welfare, and Gender have worked enormously to address issues of our girls. We had a menace of rape within the populace, which has now been combated with stringent measures, legal actions, and in fact, a sexual court instituted by His Excellency the President to see that our girls are protected. That was not only stopped, but that was not the only junction of His Excellency the President. He also further continued to ensure that education must be his flagship, and by so doing, ensuring that free quality education should be for every girl in the Republic of Sierra Leone. So the matter of sexual and reproductive health, which is still at large a major concern for us at Sierra Leone, we want to see how experts, the people with the right instrument at cabinet level, to thoroughly discuss this particular subject, sexual reproductive health education for our girls. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly permit me to invite the Honorable Minister of Social Welfare to the high table. The Honorable Minister of Gender and the Honorable Minister of Health. I will for now take the back seat and allow Madam Doris to lead us into the next 45 minute tops. 30 to 45 minute tops into this session before we have a brief Q&A. And in the meantime, I would advise us all to go on Facebook. We have our Facebook page. I'll be tallying the questions from here. If at all we have any inputs to make or questions to ask, which will also help the process collating our information with regards to the presentation ongoing here. Madam Doris, the floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Janessa. Good afternoon, everyone, once more. And I am so delighted to welcome you all to this session on sexual and reproductive health education for girls. And once again, my name is Doris Augusta Tarali, and I am honored to be your moderator for today's session. So throughout the session, we will dive deep into the important aspect of social protective systems and the access to public services and sustainable infrastructure for gender equality and empowerment for women and girls. We shall hear from our esteemed experts and beautiful and great leaders who are here today to share their insights, experiences, and perspective on the subject theme. So I encourage everyone to actively participate in this discussion and when necessary, ask questions and share your thoughts as we work together to gain a deeper understanding on this session. So I'm confident that this session will be both informative and engaging, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful and enriching discussion with these beautiful ladies. You're welcome once more. Thank you, and we shall get it started. So with us here today, of course, is the Minister of Gender and Children Affairs, Honorable Dr. Isata Mahoy. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so grateful for your presence here today. And welcome the Minister of Social Welfare, Honorable Mrs. Melrose Committee. You're welcome, ma'am. And also our Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Jalikatu Mustafa. You're welcome. So we shall hit the road running, and a brief introduction message from our panelists to hear their thoughts and opinion on our theme, sexual and reproductive health education for girls and economic security for girls, sorry. So I will start with Honorable Dr. Isata Mahoy. Under your stewardship, what are some of the breakthroughs Sierra Leone has made under your leadership?
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to say it's a great opportunity to be here, and I want to, on behalf of my government, the President and His Excellency Brigadier Julius Bio and the people of Sierra Leone, I want to share with you what is it that we're doing in Sierra Leone in relation to supporting our young people. Colleague ministers, all the members of government here present, and friends, ladies and gentlemen, I want to inform this gathering that it is important to discuss issues of young people, because issues of young people are taking the center stage. You know, they are the population we'll be looking up to carry on behind us. And for that, it is key that we give priority to issues that concern them. The first thing is that allowing them to have a voice, allowing them to present themselves allowing them to take the center stage is one of the greatest things that our government in Sierra Leone is looking forward to. This is why today our president has positioned us as a country which is full with young people. That is why even in his cabinet, we have two-thirds of his ministers are young people. So providing leadership and empowering young people in certain roles that we used to know that are there for elderly people in our society is one of the key things that we're looking at. You know, when you want to discuss issues of young people's reproductive health rights or their empowerment, you have to think critically about what went wrong in the first place. What do we do to make it right? There are too many things that went wrong initially, because young people were not allowed to speak up, even in the homes. You know, when our mothers cook, they will say, if they cook chicken, they will give the children the leg, the foot, and then keep the best part of the chicken for the husband. So this is where the problems have started. So when people are talking, elderly people are talking, children should not speak. So since then, we have molded, we have positioned our children not to speak up. But today, we've managed to begin to change those perspectives and narratives, because the policy framework is there, which is encouraging young people to be able to position themselves in terms of understanding their rights, advocate for those rights, and then take up responsibilities. This is what we're doing as a government, and then also providing services. And in the health sector, we've seen that we have positioned ourselves as a country. In fact, we try to ensure that we have free medical services for children under 5 years. We have a free health care. We also have free medical services for lactating mothers or pregnant women as well. This is because we want also to provide those facilities, because young people feed from their mothers. And when mothers also have access to services, they transfer to their children or young people. So we have positioned ourselves in terms of that. In the educational sector, today in Sierra Leone, we have what we call free quality education. We want to allow every young person to go to school. Before now, it wasn't like that. Girls were not even encouraged to go to school in some settings in our country, because they believe education is for the boys, not for girls. Because even when girls get educated, they will end up being wives. But they did not understand the implications, the negative impact that will create when you do not educate a woman. It is only today that we have started realizing this. And this is why our government has positioned ourselves to let every household in Sierra Leone send their children to school, especially the girl child, and we don't pay for it. How do we do to retain these girls? We have provided school feeding program, because most of the families are poor, from poor households. So because we want children to stay in school, there is a school feeding program, even though it has its own challenges. Then you're looking at a radical inclusion program, which encourages young people that have become pregnant to go back to school. We do not want girls to drop out of school, because this is a menace that has exhibited itself in Sierra Leone for many years. And this is why today we find it difficult to position ourselves as women, because girls have been dropping out of school. So we have created these opportunities. We are working on strategies to ensure we involve young people in whatever aspect of development. We have encouraged, as a government, we have created the enabling environment for young people like Junisa and all the girls that are there in Sierra Leone to create their own establishments, their organizations, so that they will reach out to other Sierra Leonean children or Sierra Leonean young people to be able to give out their voices, talking about change, talking about their rights, are talking about how they themselves will take the center stage for development. Another thing we need to talk about, because we're talking about reproductive health rights, is that there's a challenge which in our societies, because we are so deep-rooted in traditional norms, even where we have safe spaces for children, like reproductive health centers, where young people go to access services and information, because of the mindset of our people, when they see young people going to those centers, they perceive them as being prostitutes, they perceive them as being promiscuous, or maybe somebody that has got in contact with HIV and AIDS. So the stigma surrounding them going to those spaces is very alarming. So what do we do to support young people? We need to make sure we re-strategize on having those youth-friendly centers with separate or different or several capacities and facilities for them to be able to access and create the mindset where people will be able to understand that young people need to learn, they need to acquire education in those centers. So we need to change mindset. We need to educate our people and create awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCoy, for sharing with us these deep, insightful messages. We really appreciate all you're doing towards girls and women empowerment. So now, going forward, I would like to turn to Minister of Social Welfare. We, as the Dr. Mahoy was, we know cultural dynamics and religion are key influences and sometimes barriers to comprehensive sexual health education and rights. So how can your office optimize the participation of religious and cultural leaders in this agenda to optimize sexual and reproductive health for girls?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Distinguished panelists, government officials present, ladies and gentlemen, all participants, good afternoon. So we are here as Leoneans and therefore bringing greetings from His Excellency the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and to say that this is really an opportunity, it's a privilege to be here to share our perspective, as Leoneans, as to what we have been doing and what we continue to do. So as the Ministry of Social Welfare, we are, as the name goes, we are responsible for providing social services, supporting the vulnerable communities, and ensuring that we get access to services. How do we do that? We do that through collaboration. We work with different stakeholders, including sister governments, ministries, departments, and agencies, because this is a work you cannot do alone. We also work with development partners, donors, we work with civil society organizations, we work with NGOs, non-governmental organizations, because we believe that if we are to succeed in providing the necessary services for our vulnerable people, we have to collaborate, we have to work together. There's no way one institution is going to succeed alone. So this is it, and we also work through policies and laws, because as a ministry we are responsible to provide a policy direction, and we also do that through collaboration. So we also have laws, and we work that through Parliament. So there are so many stakeholders involved in what we do. So as a ministry, we have different directorates. There's a Directorate of Social and Religious Affairs, you mentioned religion, and we also have the Directorate of Family Affairs. We have a Directorate of Mental and Psychosocial. We also have a Directorate of Planning, Research, Policy. So So we are very much aware about the stigma, barrier, and everything that surrounds reproductive health rights. So we make sure that we work with land ministries. For example, the Deputy Minister of Health is here, and I'm sure she's going to also elaborate and zoom in more on the health aspect. But we work together to make sure that the services that the health sector should be providing for especially the vulnerable, that they come in and provide those services. We also work with our traditional leaders. There is a Ministry of Local Governments. I happen to have been the Deputy Minister in that ministry prior to coming to the Ministry of Social Welfare. So I understand the dynamics that work when you're in a traditional setting, when it comes to sexual and reproductive health rights, and even the empowerment of women and girls. So we make sure that we leave no one behind. In fact, they are very critical in all of what we do, because that's where you have the greater population, and that's where the message needs to be harmonized. That's where they will engage the people. We have paramount chiefs, we have other traditional leaders that are very critical in the development of a nation. So we also work with the Ministry of Local Government, as I said, in ensuring that the policies, the programs, when we are rolling them out, we bring them on board. We also know that the religious leaders are very key, because in our country is a religiously tolerant country, and we have mostly two religions, the Christians and the Muslims. So my ministry has a very good relationship with the authorities and the leaders of the religion. So we even have an interfaith organization, the Interreligious Council, that has the representation of both Christians and Muslims. And so they work together, because we believe that when they work together, they are bringing along all the worshippers, all those that believe in that faith, and our messages, our programs, our plans, our policies can be easily implemented. So as I speak now, we have done our 5-year strategic plan, and we have included issues of women's empowerment, girls' empowerment, because we believe that if you empower a girl, you have empowered a nation. Yeah. There is no way Leone or any other country would thrive. I think we are now at that junction where everybody knows that without women and girls, we cannot talk about development. Mm-hmm. We cannot talk about achieving the sustainable goals. So to be able to achieve or attain the sustainable goals, we have to make sure that children and women and girls and our youth take the center stage. So this is what we do, this is how we collaborate, this is how we work, this is how we roll out our programs, and I'm calling on everybody, be it government ministry, departments, agencies, the civil society organization, the media, everybody has a role to play to ensure that women's sexuality, women's sexual and reproductive health rights, the messages are clear, the services are provided, the necessary engagements are done, whether at central or at local level. We all have a role and responsibility.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, on that. Yeah, we understand those barriers, and we thank you for tackling those barriers in order to ensure that sexual health education is delivered to young girls. So moving forward to Dr. Jalikatu, so will the government consider providing free access to sexual health and reproductive items, such as contraceptive pills, condoms, etc., for young women and girls, ensuring accessibility even in less privileged communities?
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague panelists, and the Honorable Minister, who's the face of Sierra Leone. And our host, Junisa, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to talk on behalf of the Ministry of Health and my minister, who's not here, but who's also a woman champion, I'll say, about specifically what the ministry is doing to contribute towards sexual and reproductive health rights for our girls. And before I say anything about the health side, I would like to say the reason why we're here today, or even why I am here today as a Deputy Minister of Health, is because we have the enabling environment in Sierra Leone for us to even be having some of these conversations. And we must give credit to our President and the First Lady, who are championing the fight for girls, women empowerment. So I just wanted to say that, and yeah, otherwise we won't even be having these conversations right now. And I also cannot take the credit because lots of initiatives and policies have been in place that have been going on for the last 5 to 6 years that other people have championed, and we are hopefully just going to strengthen and accelerate progress on those policies. So for example, the specific question that you asked, indeed providing contraceptive services and other reproductive health services for women and girls is free of charge, especially in public health facilities. It's already free of charge in public health facilities. In private facilities, of course, you have to pay. Now, the issue is not providing these services. They are there, okay? On our own side, our main responsibility is making sure they're there, but also making sure they're safe, and we're providing safe and quality services for the women and girls, and protecting their right to good health services and the right to live. So we're doing that. But even as we're doing that, you'll find out there are still big gaps on accessing these services. So even though the services are there, the girls, especially our young adolescent girls, are not fully utilizing these services. And the Honorable Minister of Gender spoke about some of the reasons, things like stigma, or sometimes the most vulnerable groups, we cannot reach them because either they're hard to reach areas, or they're not empowered enough to be able to make the informed choice or make decisions for themselves. Even the young women, forget about adolescents who need parental consent, even the young women, a lot of young women reported in several surveys we've done that they cannot make any decision in the household related to their own health or the health of their children without the consent of the husband or a male relative. So I think providing the services is one thing, but addressing the gaps to access is the main thing that we should be focusing on right now. And that is not only a Ministry of Health affair. This is a multi-sectoral affair. Every ministry has to play a role, and partners have to play a role, the community, other stakeholders, local councils, local governments, the paramount chiefs, civil society, and the women themselves also have to take up their own advocacy role, take up. Nobody, there's a saying, I can't remember the exact thing, but we all know the saying of the oppressors never give power willingly. Okay, so we have to take it. And to take it, every woman has to come on board. We, the women, we also need to learn how to support each other and support ourselves. Because every time we speak about the men being the oppressors or the men making the decisions, but sometimes even in these communities, it's the women leaders who are, I would say, terrorizing the girls from seeking these services. So we also have to acknowledge the role women play in some of these things, in making sure our women and our girls are empowered enough to take up the reproductive health services.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jalika, for sharing with us. So I would like to ask Honorable Dr. Isaac Samahoy, so what implementation should the UN Women and other organizations adopt to address some of these challenges you have identified so far in your leadership?
We need to get what we call the bottom-up approach. You know, for every, when you want to create change, it takes time. You know, development is a gradual process. We also have to prepare communities for them to be able to understand that If you want to move from position XY to go to Z, you need to take a step. So how do you do this? This is why it needs to get everybody on board to work. What we used to do as government practitioners or civil society organizations, sometimes we take, we design projects, we sit on our tables, design projects, thinking that this is what people want in this village, without consulting with the people. It's a wrong approach to development. That's not how we should work. We have moved away from that. We should work with the people, go to the people, let their voices be heard, let them give you what is it that they want, then you come, put that information together, then you seek funding. You will help create change. Because tomorrow they'll tell you, oh, we were not consulted with, you decided on your own to do this. That is one, to help create change. Another thing is the collective responsibility. We need to work collectively, like Janikati said. We need to have a collective approach to development, supporting each other, harmonizing, messaging. Because many times you see people working on a project, they have different messages that they take to people. And people misunderstand this, especially countries like Sierra Leone, where almost half of the population is uneducated. And then you have mixed match information. How would they understand? So this is why some of the challenges we get in terms of when reporting rape or sexual penetration to the police is that people do not get the information how to preserve evidence after being raped. So they do the wrong thing, go to the police, and the police will not see circumstantial evidence that will lead to get justice. So this is where we get a mismatch as well. They will see these things as very common, but they are the critical thing. They will see many victims suffer in silence because they do not get justice. And it's because of, as a result of that one thing, that they did not take into consideration or did not give attention to, or were misinformed about. So how we bring those information to the people collectively, it has to be harmonized. Also at a government level, we should be able to fund gender or young people's issues or strategies. Create the environment where you fund these initiatives. Because if you decide to fund one thing against the other, then it becomes challenging. Education will get, reproductive health will not get. And then what happens? Reproductive health suffers. So children are misled, they are not properly equipped, they are not empowered in that aspect. Then you also get an imbalance in the growth and development of young people. So we need to get funding, especially on girls' initiatives. We should give monies to this. And this one is going for specifically for partners, development partners, NGOs that are working in the field of gender and development or women and development. So we need to think about these things critically. Because once you have a misplaced priority, then it becomes a very big challenge. Another thing is also the women supporting women, which I don't know who talked about this. Yes, again, Madam Janikati. Yes, you know, we have seen situations where women drinking down women, even at community level. So we need to bring out initiatives that will always help us to prosper as women. We need to look at this because otherwise there's no need for us sitting and shouting against men saying that they are not giving up the landscape. They are not giving up the opportunity. We should be giving ourselves the opportunity. We should grab the opportunities. We should go for it. Don't wait for people to take you to the table. Go to the table by yourself, and then you get what you're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mandai. We also happy that a lot of people here are women, so we already had from Dr. Mahoi that we need to support ourselves in order for us to achieve this development. So moving on to Dr. Melrose, Mrs. Melrose, sorry. Yeah, so moving on to Mrs. Melrose, what are the measures in the support system available for women and girls who face barriers, like discrimination, accessing sexual health information and services due to socio-economic factors?
Thank you very much. I think this is an interesting topic, and different people have different roles to play when it comes to addressing this issue. And you have at governmental level, central or local. You also have at the central level, you have ministries, departments, agencies. You also have at the civil society level, NGOs. You also have development partners, donors. Everybody has a role to play, in addressing this or removing this barrier. So quickly, from what I know at the governmental level, especially at the highest level, His Excellency the President, he has been very, very focused in trying to unlock potentials, especially for women. And like somebody mentioned, that's why some of us are here. In his first inning, the last 5 years, he has supported women through the free quality education. He believes that when you educate a woman, you have empowered that woman, but not only that woman, you have empowered a family, you have empowered a community, and empowered the nation. And the impact will be lasting. Because even when we talk about the UN Sustainable Goals, we are not likely to achieve that, as I mentioned earlier. If we don't get everybody playing their part, whether at country level, national, regional, and then globally, because that's why we are all gathered at the CSW, because we want to take stock of what countries are doing, and also a learning curve for every one of us. So, His Excellency the President gave Sierra Leone a free quality education. In the face of the economic challenges in the world, no child pays school fees. And on top of that, he made sure that there's school feeding. Somebody mentioned school feeding earlier. That is to ensure that there's sustainability. So this idea of people keeping their children back because they don't have money to go to school, that's one way to try to clear that barrier and unlock the potential. And very recently, he was there saying the women and the girls have vindicated me for some of the actions that I've taken. Now the girls are leading in the public exams. So that means girls can do more, they can do better, and they can even be the best, to be honest. And that's the same thing goes for women. He believes in women, and that is why he passed the landmark GEWE Act, the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act, because he wanted to clear that barrier and unleash the potential of women. So that's how we got the GEWE Act that gives minimum 30% to women in governance and leadership position. And it's been implemented. This is something everybody needs. If you want to learn more about Sierra Leone, you can Google and go and search about what His Excellency the President has done. It's not only on the papers or in the books on the shelf. He has practicalized it by bringing us, the women, on the table in cabinet, more than 30%. And the same thing in the House of Assembly, in Parliament, we have more than 30% of women there. So the voices of women is being amplified. Because there is no way you can sit on the table and decide for us now. We are always at that table now because we know our issues and we have to contribute to those issues. So that is why even the young women, the young ones now are in cabinet. We have as young as 32 you know, a youth, yes, in cabinet. She knows about her sexuality. She can now take informed decisions because she has been given the opportunity. The platform is there now. So at government level, the willingness is there. Look at the 5 big game changers. His Excellency the President has just launched a medium-term development plan. 5 big game changers. We are going into agriculture. So if you are a youth, you want to really tap into good opportunities in Sierra Leone now, you can, because the opportunity is there. And that is why when I'm addressing people, talking about very difficult and challenging issues that I deal with in my ministry, for example, the human trafficking, I talk to them that you only have to change your mentality, because it is mentality driven. When people believe that they only have to be overseas to be able to make life, you have to look inward and not outward, because the opportunities are there and you need to tap into that opportunity. At other levels with NGOs and civil society organizations, they have their own role to play as well. That is to support the process. You know, I know now that a lot of other partners are aligning their plans with the 5 big game changers. That is the government medium-term development plan. This is the way to go. This is the way to unlock potential.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Melrose, for that. Yeah, education being a liberation. Special thanks again to the government of Sierra Leone for allocating 22% of its GDP to ensure free quality health education. So before we wrap up the session, I would like to ask this question to Dr. Jalikatu. So, however, we understand the escalating concern about substance abuse among the young generation, and it's also an alarming thing. So, according to the senior psychiatrist we have in the country, Dr. Abdul Jallo, the cases of the drug abuse among the young people have surged from 2% to 40% within 2 years. So what is the Ministry of Health is doing to address these issues, especially when women are involved in this, and also the impact it has on the sexual and reproductive health?
Thank you very much, Doris. I wish you had asked this to the Honorable Minister of Social Welfare. However, since the substance abuse and specifically the kush problem in Sierra Leone is such a big problem, we also recognize that it's a multi-sectoral problem, and the only way we're going to address it is if we all work together. Yeah. So I will focus specifically on the health side, okay? So for Ministry of Health, we recognize, we see these people as victims, right? So, I mean, they're victims of circumstances, of socio-economic problems in Sierra Leone, of mental health problems which have not been addressed. I mean, there are numerous things that could contribute to this, including being subjected to oppression, sexual violence. There are so many things that could contribute to somebody becoming addicted to substance. So for us, what we want to do is, first of all, try and identify those who are at risk, implement measures to prevent them from becoming addicted to substances or kush specifically. And for those who are already addicted or who are already abusing kush, see how to get them through rehab process, solve any health problems, associated health problems they could have, treat them, and then rehabilitate them back into their communities and ensure they have the right support in these communities so that they can contribute to the economic development and become contributing members in society. So the first thing, first of all, is to find out why are people becoming addicted to substance abuse. I mean, it's not a problem we can solve, but we can do, what we're doing now is like a prevalence survey to find out exactly where the problems are, who are the key populations who are at risk. We've already identified students to be at risk. We've identified vulnerable groups, people living with disabilities, people in extreme poverty. We've already identified these as the people at risk. Of course, other people still do become addicted, but those are the specific groups, what we call key populations. Those are the specific groups. So we're doing a survey right now to identify these people and find out what are some of the main contributing factors, so that we can come up with a policy that will address the risk factors. Because for health, we always say prevention is better than cure. It's easier to prevent the people becoming addicted than to actually cure them, I'll say, of this addiction. So that's one of the things we're doing. And what we're also trying to do is set up health centers. The Honorable Minister of Social Welfare here just recently launched a rehabilitation center, and that is going to be the first of many. But we want it to be a one-stop center for health. It's not just a center to hold them, but it's actually a center where they go in, they get proper screening for any other health conditions, they are treated of these health conditions. If they need long-term treatment for other things, that's also done. We have pregnant women who are in some of these centers. How do we provide, reproductive health services for them and their children? So we are looking at it holistically to see how we can have these centers across the country and to provide these special services for them. I also want to quickly mention that we are also rapidly accelerating training of community mental health specialists, because we recognize the big role that mental health has to play in this issue of substance abuse.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jalukasi. So,
maybe just to add to the aspect of getting them in the centers. I think what we need to give also alternative support, like skills development, because most of them are associated to lack of economic opportunities, and once they are empowered, they develop their knowledge or capacity in terms of being enrolled in some sort of education or skills training, where they can keep themselves and engage themselves in them. It will help reduce the risk for them to be involved. I think this is the aspect that also needs to come into the one-stop shop that we are looking for. So at the end of the day, they'll be able to provide for themselves, their siblings, or people that they take care of. For me, I think we need a holistic approach to ending the menace of drug abuse.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahoy. I believe those, if they can be targeted like that to ensure that the youth are involved in skillful things they can do, and it will actually stop or eradicate it. So, but before we round up the Mrs. Melrose, we understand that there are provisions, rehabilitation centers that are already going on for these people. And so what are the ways, that your ministry, your ministry is doing in order to stop or to eradicate it completely? Because providing these rehabilitation centers is good, but if these youths come out and they can access, the way they can access this substance, it's also a way of also increasing it. So it's just like you healing them and they come back again and they get into it. So which ways the ministry is doing to eradicate it completely from the country? That is the last question. Thank you.
Can I please ask one?
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. This is a very concerning and disturbing trend in our country currently. And His Excellency the President and the entire cabinet are very concerned about this. And I remember in one cabinet meeting, the President had instructed that we take a multi-sectoral and interministerial approach, because what is happening there is that it's not one ministry thing. If you're asking the Ministry of Social, how do we ensure that they don't? No, it has to do with different players. So in this case, we have the Ministry of Internal Affairs that has the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. They are the ones that should go after those who are trafficking the drugs, those who have those cartels that are selling the drugs. So that's their own responsibility to make sure that they track them down. And we are just at the end of service delivery almost. where we make sure that we cater for the victims. Because what was happening initially was that they were arresting them and putting them in prison. But His Excellency said, not everybody is a perpetrator, but most of them are victims because they just take the drugs. So that we were mandated to make sure that we rehabilitate those ones, get them off because what is happening is addiction. Get them off the drugs, rehabilitate them, get them into skills training opportunities, and that's where the Ministry of Higher and Technical Education comes in, even the Ministry of Youth, because they also cater for training opportunities for these young people. So we went ahead straight and started working with the NDLA, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, who are going into communities to raise awareness, to sensitize the youth about the harmful impact of these drugs, because they are dying. I am telling you, this, I don't know what kind of drug is this, but this is really, really it's serious. It's a serious matter. Even as we're here, we are seeing what is going on social media. So we have taken upon ourselves to work with all players to open this rehab center where we have the youth now, and like Jenica to mention, it's like a one-shop center. The Ministry of Health is coming there, giving the services on their health, health checkups, detoxing, and all of that. We are making sure that they get food. We are making sure that they get the basics, and then they have recreational facilities that will take their drugs off. Let me share a very quick and interesting thing about it. When we got them into the center, at least when they were not getting access to the drugs again, they were very violent. The Ministry of Health came in to give them some drugs to hamper them down, yes, and then later on, because they were not getting access to, they were taking paper and trying to, but they realized quickly that it's not the same. So as I speak now, they are doing very, very well, and our offices are full every day because people want us to take in their kids who are dropping out of university, out of school. Is quite serious. But I'm believing that if we work together as we have started, we can make sure that we fight this, because after Corona, this is the next war, the war on drugs.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for tackling this issue, especially when women and girls are involved in it. We thank you so much for your wonderful and insightful words and message. So, but because of time, we will not have questions. If you want to meet them later, they are also around. The ministers are here.
I think we need to do justice to one or two questions.
Session.
1 to 2 questions, justice, because I will be crucified.
I'm going to be brief. I strongly believe that our panelists have been phenomenal.
Yes.
And as an individual coming from the Ministry of Social Welfare, that coordinates and monitors all interventions on disability in Sierra Leone, I think I must make this passionate appeal. I have taken a closer look at the representation in this hall, and sadly, I have not seen any woman or girl with disability here. I stand to be corrected. And it's a very, very critical issue that we are discussing this afternoon. So it's a critical challenge which ought to be addressed sooner rather than later. Yes, and that draws my attention to one of the questions that you posed. Which approach that must be adopted? I want to say here that we should adopt an inclusive approach. An approach that addresses the special needs of women and girls with disabilities. So it is on that note that I want to passionately appeal that while I heap a lot of accolade on you for organizing this strategic engagement, let us take into consideration the special needs of our women and girls with disabilities, because these are the ones that are adversely affected by the lack of knowledge on sexual and reproductive health education.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. One last.
Yes. Well, thank you, my sisters from Sierra Leone. Thank my sisters from around the world. My name is Stephanie McGraw. I am your American sister. I lived in America. I was born in America. My ancestors were born here, but I was born here. What I want to say to you, I'm devastated to hear about what's happening in Sierra Leone. That's why I'm here, to be a part of the solution, right? So I have a domestic violence center. We rescue women, children, and babies, and we take them to safe locations. But they're dealing with all the issues of drugs, of sexual trafficking, of sexual assault, of poverty, of lack of education. But what we have here in America and what we're dealing with over there in Sierra Leone, it's spiritual in nature. You can't take nothing physical to fix this issue. It is something called, and I would like to personally come to your country and bring what we have here in America that's working. It is very simple. We can bring it in your language. We can translate it. It's called the 12-Step Program of Narcotics Anonymous that have helped millions of people get off of drugs. And just how they do it.
Thank you very much.
Wait a minute. Wait. This is how they do it. I'm on drugs. You on drugs. I come to you. I've been on drugs all my life. This is what it did to help me get off. It's one addict helping another without parallel. It's spiritual nature. You can't fix it with anything. I can't fix it with the chair. Yeah. The center, God bless the center, but the 12-step program, we would like to bring that to you.
Fantastic. I'm very grateful for that submission. I believe I'm happy that we have the honorable ministers concerned here. Of course, we're running in a very tight schedule. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister of Information. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Deputy Commissioner from the New York Commission for Youth and Community Development. And I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the government-appointed Youth Envoy, Ambassador Ulissa. Thank you very much for being here. And a very personal person from the United Nations family, Madam Howard Diallo. So, without much ado, I'd like to kindly ask our panelists, and give them a round of applause, please. Thank you very much for the session. As we rush quickly to the second session, which has to do with economic empowerment for women and youth. So, I'd like to call Madam Khadija, Dr. Khadija, to please take the stand. Ambassador Wancho, Ambassador Ulissa, please take the front seat. Madam Howard Diallo from the United Nations Department of Global Communication. As we continue, the sessions continue. The first segment was dealing with sexual, reproductive health education, and now we're looking at women economic empowerment for youth and women. Mind you, all of your questions, I kindly advise each and every one of us who have questions to kindly send it to the Facebook page for the event. We are going to tally this information, and mind you, we are also broadcasting live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on our national television back home at AYV. So I would like to acknowledge the support of the Serbian government, in particular so the consul to Sierra Leone, the Serbian consul to Sierra Leone, Ambassador Andres Abud, who made it available for us to have a live broadcast with Ambassador Junabo, the CEO of AYV News, to broadcast this particular session live back in Sierra Leone for those who are not opportune to come to CSW to see what exactly we're looking at and what we're discussing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Ambassador Wancho, as the moderator. Thank you, that's your seat. The floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue the session. Great.
Are you guys excited? Woo. Everyone looks so tired. Let's try to do it.
Let's everybody stand up. Let's do a big shake body. Please, let's stand up. Let's stand up. Let's stand up and shake the body. Please, please, come on. This is a youth program. Let's be active. Yes? Let's stretch. Let's stretch a little. Let's stretch a little. Thank you very much. That's cool. That's cool. All right. Hit it. Let's hit the road running.
I want to welcome all of you guys to this very exciting panel. Before we start, we want to give a round of applause for the organizer led by UNICEF. Let's give a round of applause for them. So, empowerment of young women is a
Sorry to interject, sir, before you proceed. Commissioner, can you please, we have the commissioner here.
Okay.
Please. Well, please, Commissioner, you are here to honor the invitation on behalf of the mayor. So please, you're a speaker now. Please. Thank you very much, ma'am. What you said. Good.
So the empowerment of women and girls and youth is a critical component of not just Africa, but the global work. And part of the UN Civil Society objective is to see how young people can be empowered in diverse ways, in skill building, in education, in different other manners. So at the CSW this year, the conversation have been, more focused on different aspects. For instance, currently, the UN is focused on the upcoming Summit for the Future, which is a critical part of multilateralism. Another aspect also with the civil society unit have been working on engaging member states to see how they can find opportunities that can harness the potential of young people in dialogue, in conversation, in different spheres. Today, our panelists have come from different walks of life. Some are directly empowering young people through the civil society unit. Some are working directly with the New York State Department. Another working with the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of Sierra Leone in different capacities. I think we have the envoy on youth. So we definitely will have a very impressive and incredible conversation. Part of our role as moderator is to ensure that we have them talking more and I talking less. So to start this panel, I want to start first by giving them the opportunity to provide introductory aspect of their background and how it connects to the topic that we are currently having. So the first, I will have Ms. Howard Diallo to first give a little opening and how her background connects with the topic. Thank you.
Well, first of all, greetings, everybody. First of all, let me correct you. The name is Hawa Taylor Kamara Diallo. I'm a married woman, but I came from somewhere before I got married. And the legacy I have of my father and my family name resonates with me, so I never leave it behind.
Thank you.
So I'm from Sierra Leone. I've had the privilege of working at the United Nations across the street for 38 years. So I basically started when I was in nursery, in case you're wondering. I'm about to retire in about 2 months on the 31st of May after a really long history of learning, sharing, and really inspiring people and being inspired myself. So the topic that we're talking about today, I had in my head sexual reproduction, but also, education really speaks to me, in volumes, because I am a woman from the global south, but I'm also a woman from inner city, New York. Let me hear it from the New Yorkers here. Woo! I grew up just downtown First Avenue, ABC, Alphabet City. Now, for me, I said yesterday in another speaking engagement, I'm a product of the legacy of my grandmother, Hannah Hula, who was illiterate. Maybe she went to school, who knows, class 2, class 3, I don't know. In those days, women didn't have that opportunity. We didn't have that choice. And like many women, and I even learned even in the European context, she had 11 children. Because a friend of mine I met yesterday from Germany told me her grandmother had 11 children. And I say, I applaud them. I don't know how they do it. I have 2, and I'm about to go crazy. But she was abandoned by her husband. Again, I don't know if I would say it was polygamy or maybe he decided to get married to somebody else. But being illiterate, not having an education, not having that economic power, she was left with 11 children. I think even out of my grandmother's 11 children, maybe about 4 of them passed away. That's the nature of things in terms of health infrastructure and support to women. But somehow that inner feeling in my grandmother's soul pushed her to make her feel as if, or to realize that education, what she had missed, was something that was important. So each and every one of her children, including my mother, were educated through high school, through college. My mom got married when she was young, because she was the eldest, and she had to support her, her siblings. But her brothers and sisters, she brought them to America. They went to universities all over the United States and had big jobs in all types of, tech, scientific companies. But my mom has always said education is something that's important. And I have 4 brothers. In case you don't know, I'm also a man, because I operate in that way, not only in the physical, but in the personality and in the spirit. So she made sure that all of us, even though my father also died when I was 9 years old, and my mom was subjected to the issues that women face, married to an older man, who has money, maybe who was educated. Even though she went to technical school, she was still at a disadvantage. But that education that she had is what she used to educate her 5 kids. My mom went to what they called technical college in those days, secretarial college. And she's always telling us stories about working about the British Commonwealth in Sierra Leone. Being a secretary is what she used to work across the street at the UN. As a matter of fact, my mom worked in UNITA building, which is my office, over 50 years later, full circle, as a secretary to educate me and my brothers through elementary, high school, that all of us have first and second degrees in the United States. So I owe a lot to my mom, but even more so to Hannah Fuller, my grandmother, who instilled also in my mother the role of education. So education, also has positive and negatives, but I think of it more like informal education, formal education, or maybe even social media's education, what we're seeing out there. I've spent a great deal of my 60 years, on my mom's bed listening to oral history of Sierra Leone. The other day she was telling me about the time that the cousin of Queen Elizabeth came to Sierra Leone. And my father was Minister of Trade and Industry, and I saw a picture of my mom and dad in the audience there. I don't know how many years ago that was, 1961. But I have learned so much from her, and she has inspired me. As a matter of fact, I am at the UN because of my mom. When I graduated here in the US, I wanted to travel in Europe and backpack. Being an African mother, she said, "Come here, Missy. I think you need a job." Somehow she arranged for me to have a job here, to come and apply for a job as a tour guide. At 21. And I was like, I'll be here for the summer and I'm gone. 38 years I've told you, and I've learned here. All because of my mom. And the one thing she's always told me, she'll be disappointed because I'm retiring, Hawa, you have to become the Secretary General of the UN. So for me, all these things we're talking about, these resonate to me in a personal way. I can come here and talk to you in UNese, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that I can relate to you on the topics in the way that they impact me and impact Memunatu, Aisatu, Ibrahim on the ground. So I'm looking for a fruitful conversation. That's just a teaser. I enjoy being here, supporting young people. My son over there, I'm so proud of you, of all the work you've done. Please, I know you clapped, but give him another round of applause. And I know where he came from.
Hi everyone. I bring you warm greetings from Sierra Leone again. And that's one thing we're good at. Sierra Leoneans, we're very hospitable, very accommodating, and very warm people. So I invite you to visit Sierra Leone anytime soon if you've not been there. And, as per introduction, I'm Ulissa Amadou. I am Sierra Leone's Youth Envoy. I support diaspora engagement on youth affairs particularly. And part of my role is to connect Sierra Leonean youth to opportunities globally. This is a new thing for Sierra Leone, and I'm happy that it happened at a time where we have a leader and president who is very passionate about youth and inclusion of young people in his government. I'm pretty sure from previous panel or on the news, you may have heard this is a government that has included the highest number of young people ever in cabinet. We have one of the youngest ministers here who happens to be the Minister of Information and Civic Education. Well, of course, he's Mr. Chelobab seated right there, and of course, Dr. Jalika too, and right by my side, a young minister as well, that is Dr. Khadija Grace, Deputy Minister of Tourism. Why am I giving you this background? That is because I am happy to be alive at this time. In a country where, in your widest imagination, you will not see young people leading in the forefront. Young people being given the opportunity to serve in key roles, strategic roles. And it's actually a blessing. When I reflected on my own story when Auntie Hawa was speaking, I reflected on my story. Well, just to be accurate, she mentioned 30-something years at the UN, and I'm like, that's my age, or almost my age. I was like, yeah, exactly. So you walked to my age plus. Even you added some more years to my age working for the UN, and that's incredible. And that's the stories we want to see for other young Sierra Leoneans who would actually live a dream and live a goal to leave a story behind. And that's incredible indeed. But on my part, I actually come from a small village called Tayama from Sierra Leone, and reflected on my story, I would say, it's actually a dream come true to even sit here. And that's the kind of energy we want to instill in young people in Sierra Leone, seeing them being economically empowered to be able to live their dreams regardless where they come from. I traveled all the way here to the UN I traveled with a couple of young people, and whilst in the plane, one of them said, "This is my first time sitting in an aeroplane." And I reflected and counted how many times I've been in and out. And I'm like, okay, this is it. That's inspiring for the first time. But it means a lot to him. And that's the kind of exposure we need for young people across. And I'm so happy to be part of this conversation. And I'm pretty sure my insights, the very little ones that I have regarding Sierra Leone's success story, will definitely make a difference here today. Thank you, and we look forward to a great conversation.
So just in because I'm the mastermind of time here, so I would like us to just maybe keep the intro to 3 minutes, then we can be able to have a little bit of time to have conversation.
Esteemed ministers, ladies and gentlemen, she's that girl that came from a country where you use airline NC to enter. The only country that is called the Diamond City. The only country where the people are not only warm and hospitable, but they were once upon a time known for the worst war that happened in the world. A girl that was abandoned by her father at age 10, raped at 13 during the war, and wanted to commit suicide twice. That is not who she is. But then when she met President Bio 2019 here at the United Nations telling her story, President Bio asked her, "What are you doing here? It's time to come home." And she says to President Bio, "Whenever you need me, I am ready to serve." Sometimes, we as women, I share this because it is International Women's Month. I'm not saying this for anybody to feel sorry for me because that's who I was, that's not who I am. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Khadijatu Grace Ahili Kamara, the Deputy Minister of Tourism. President Bio believed in us and saw the craft, the talent that was instilled in me when he came to United Nations and said, "Come and show this to your fellow young people." What I do is, he found out that I empower my fellow youth. After staying away for 28 years, when I got home, the first wind that blew me is that there's a need for mindset change in this country. And so I still, as a psychologist, I went into the mode of solving my own problem first. And so I set up an organization called Psychology of Women. What we do is we create young minds, transforming young minds, creating generational leaders. Everybody has a story, everybody has a song, everybody's is just a little bit different. Now you and I are good at something, but separate different things. But if we work together cohesively, there's nothing we cannot do when we work together as one. So I am seated here today because I am known for working with the young people in the skill developmental arena and sector. I am, of course, in the tourism sector because I love my culture and tradition. I've been flying the flag of my country so high, but I am much more passionate because of what happened to me, and I was given an opportunity to live. And so I take that opportunity that was given to me here in the United States, and I took it back home in making sure that all the 5,000 youths that are under my organization, they've met themselves. They have forgiven themselves. They're into vocational training institutions, programs, counseling session and mentoring session, making sure that we teach them that they are the generational leaders. They are the change makers.
Good afternoon. My name is Denise Williams, native New Yorker. I'm very proud of that. Live in Queens, which most people don't get to see. They think of New York as Manhattan. It is not New York City. I have dedicated my life to service of others, both in the, I guess you would call the NGO sector, and also as part of government. Raised by a single mother. I'm proud to say I'm Bajan. As well, my father's side is from Barbados. My mother's side is from the South in South Carolina. So I'm proud of that. But I'm here today to represent Mayor Adams of the city of New York. And I'm proud of that, actually. I am with an organization called the Department of Youth and Community Development. So happy to talk a lot about what we're doing and what we need to be doing around girls and young women in economic development. I will say the reason I'm proud of working for this mayor is if you've ever seen his cabinet, there are a lot of sisters up in that cabinet. including the first deputy mayor is a woman. You might have seen her yesterday announcing a huge investment in human services. Why is that important? A lot of people that look like me and you work in human services. Who are the most underpaid? People that look like me and you working in human services, right? So we can't be talking about creating economic pipelines if the government is part of the problem in how they fund that sector. And he is actually tackling that. So he's looking problems in the eye, and I'm hoping that that's part of the dialogue. We can talk about what's wrong, because if it's right, let's post it on the internet and move on. If it's wrong, let's have a conversation and fix it.
Sure. And I like the aspect where you highlighted. Let's give a round of applause for that. I like the aspect where you talk about, let's talk about what's wrong. And this question, anyone definitely can be able to respond to it. I like to, tailor this conversation to the challenges in skill development. In your experience, in your endeavor, what are some of the most common challenges faced with delivering skill development initiative for not just youth but women, and how do you think we can be able to address these challenges? So in an attitude of time, we just have 1 minute to respond to each other's questions. If anyone wants to, definitely go ahead.
Specific to young women, literacy is an issue. You need 8th grade. Literacy, communications, opportunities. The way we direct them, we only have one organization called Non-Traditional Employment for Women, right? They direct and support women in going into things like construction and the trades. Where's all the money if you're not going to college? The trades, you need to be a plumber, right? You need to be doing masonry. There are things that you can do without getting a lot of college debt that lead to really good economic success to be able to raise you and your family. But I do think we need to figure out this literacy issue because even if you're not going to college, you stop learning to read in third grade. You're reading to learn after that, and in every job you have, you need to be able to read to learn.
Great, thank you.
And just to add buttress to what she said, I think it's also very much imperative that we also think of the vocational skills training. Every human being, it's not everybody that is tailored to go to school. You have some people that are good with their hands. And the learning, there are different ways of learning. Some are visual, some are, they use their hands. And so you want to make sure that when you're having these individuals go through programs, tailored programs for women and girls especially, you want to understand what it is that they're good at, that they do effortlessly, and try as much as you can to place them within that. Because once you do that, they're able to thrive well. And then from there, you see them, their self-confidence comes back up, and they're willing and ready to take up the challenge to try new things that they didn't even think they could try.
Sure. Great. I just want to change the question, which will directly come to the experience of you and Teawa. So, in the space of challenging, partnership become a cardinal aspect of, employment change. The UN Sustainable Development Goal 17 speak a lot about partnership. In fact, the upcoming Civil Society Conference, Summit for the Future, is hugely relying on partnership. So, can you discuss the role of partnership between the public sector and the private sector and the civil society in promoting economic empowerment of women and youth? And are there any framework or models that you want us to particularly look at when it comes to engaging in this kind of partnership?
As a matter of fact, what I had on my mind is, I guess it's broadly partnerships, but I had love and support in my mind because I'm always thinking of things from a human-centered approach. Because for me, I have so much love that I want to give people. I spend a lot of time mentoring a lot of young people, mentoring women, and also being mentored by these two constituencies at the same time. I have some of my daughters and my sons here, and some of my sisters who have mentored me over the years. And I can never understand why we as women cannot support each other enough. People, but here we're talking about women. Let's talk about the sisters. I want to be able to climb on your back and then, move down and have the other people keep climbing up and up and up. I'm sure many of you have seen that visual on social media of the women climbing up on the ladder. So it's not for me to step on you as I'm going up. but how do we nurture those relationships? And that's partnership, you know, because let's get it outside of the UN. The solutions are not going to be formed or created in Conference Room 4. They're going to be created and formed in our communities and in our families. So how do we nurture that love, that support, that togetherness, not only for International Women's Day or Women's Month, but every single day of our lives. So for me, that's how I want to activate myself in civil society. And I'm speaking to my civil society friends, brothers and sisters. How can we in civil society really have true partnership, genuine partnership, where we're sharing information, where we're sharing resources, where we're willing to collaborate with one another. And I think that's the type of framework that we want to be talking about. I'm going to take this opportunity to do a plug for one of the UN frameworks, which I'm working on right now, and that's why I was a little late. We have the UN Civil Society Conference coming up in Nairobi, Kenya. I see like sisters like Julie Kariansky, who's been with the DGC and UN for many years, can tell you about it. But this is a platform where civil society like you come together in partnership, in collaboration, around the UN topic. This year, we're going to be focusing on the Summit of the Future. It's a once-in-a-lifetime generation of opportunity, as the SG has said, for us to come together in a multilateral way, in a cooperative way. So Nairobi is a place, and for me, I'm excited because we've been having 68 conferences. And I'm just, when I talk about it, I'm happy and I'm upset. It's the first time the UN Civil Society Conference is going to Africa. Africa Unite. I want to see all of us there to demonstrate what we can do. I'm equally excited because the UN office in Nairobi is headed by a woman, I'm sorry, but from Sierra Leone. I know how I'm going to be there as women, as African, as young people, in collaboration, in cooperation, and in partnership. And I think all of us have many ways in which we can partner with one another, so I'm not going to get into that. But let's keep love, and, well, you see, my mind is going out. What was the other one? Love and support, I think I would say. I'm sorry, I'm mushy.
I also think part of the partnership also goes down to the grassroots, actually looking at local partnerships, because apparently in like for developing countries, we might not have all these big organizations or NGOs, but at local level, how can we partner with each other? How can the paramount chiefs partner with, let's say, the civil society organizations that are there? How can the young people themselves partner with other organizations that are providing all these trainings that they need, the skills and soft skills that they also need? So practically, I think at that level, if we start partnering from that level, it definitely grows into a bigger thing. And so it's of great relevance. So I'm using an example for blueprints, for instance. For Sierra Leone, we had to learn new things from Nigeria, the National Youth Service. The National Youth Service came. We had to, send some of our expertise from the Ministry of Youth, headed by the minister, the vibrant Minister of Youth, who went to Nigeria to understudy how they are doing the National Youth Service scheme. How can they train youths to actually, be more productive after university, and how can they learn new skills that they can actually use as well to make their countries go further. And I think those partnerships are very relevant in the sub-region, at higher levels, local levels, at all sectors. That's the key to go, and I'm pretty sure if we continue to strengthen the partnership at that level, we're actually making better strides and better moves in sustaining development.
Sure. So I'm going to lay out this last question for the panel, and then we'll definitely take a couple of questions from the audience. Again, I want to welcome Minister Chenova. I also see Timothy Sam. So interestingly, Timothy Sam was when I was with Play International talking about youth engagement. Timothy Sam was the coordinator for our youth advisory group. I remember clearly we went to Doha for the Doha Youth Declaration with Play International, and amazing it, we had Chenova speech at the Women Refugee Convention where he was delivering a speech when he invited his mom. Very inspirational. So it's a pleasure to have you both here. So the last question I want us to be able to go to, and also we have a Liberian delegation not to forget, we have a Liberian. Great. We have the last aspect. I wanted to talk about call to action, which is a very important part of this conversation. As we conclude, do you think there are specific call to action that you want to lay out, including from the government angle, from the civil society, from the city, state, or municipal leadership, on how we can be able to foster economic empowerment for women, for youth, and girls? So that anybody can be a first, but this question is for everyone. 1 minute, please. 1 minute.
A specific call to action for stakeholders, including government, educational institutions, and the private sector. We will be able to prioritize investment in education and skills development programs tailored for women and youth, create policies that promote gender equality and youth empowerment, establish mentorship and networking opportunities, provide access for financial resources, which is one key, and entrepreneurship support, and collaborate across sectors to create a more inclusive and supportive environment for women and youth to achieve economic empowerment by working together and taking correct measures or actions in these areas. Stakeholders can make a significant impact in fostering the economic empowerment of our women and youth.
Just quickly, one of the things that happened during COVID, a lot of our young people started businesses, right? I would love for there to be a fund to support them in these businesses. I would like schools to have a track that's based on entrepreneurships. Look at all the beautiful hair in here. We got folks who started businesses around hair. My daughter started a catering business. We got the eyebrows going on. We got the nails. We got the hair. They're already out there, right? We need to invest in them and come together and do that. My boss said never waste a good crisis. COVID was a crisis, but it brought out the creativity and talent in our young people, and we need to come alongside with investments, with mentoring, with skills around business planning, because they have the ideas, and the internet has given them a universal platform for marketing. You don't have to advertise on TV. Everybody's advertising on the internet. Let's come alongside them and help them be their own boss.
Yeah. I completely agree. And that brings us to innovation, basically, because the world is changing. And so you have to go along with the change. You have to grow with it. And for countries like Sierra Leone, where I come from, it's very critical. But I mean, one thing I like about the country is that we're open to change. We're one place that is quick to absorb anything that is positive. Like if it's really positive, you go to Sierra Leone, you will see there. You feel the energy there. And I feel that's the drive young people are moving with. The energy to go with innovation and the energy to digitalize everything these days. But for Sierra Leone, I'll use a practical example. The highest employment rate, the highest employer in Sierra Leone is actually the Okada and Keke riders. For those of you who don't know Keke, this is the tricycle. That's actually the highest employer in Sierra Leone. Well, but how can we innovate that? How can we change that in a way that it will become more productive? I mean, that's the highest employment. But how can we make it more productive? Well, I have a little policy that I want to share here. I actually propose, which I'm happy the Minister of Civic Education is here, and I'm sure he will tally that along. I propose that if we have over 1 million Keke riders in Sierra Leone, how can we innovate and transpose that Keke into maybe tricycles that they use in the farm, that they can use to plow the farm? And so we can have more youths actually also helping our feed salon program, which is very paramount. Not just using it for transportation. How can we innovate to go into the delivery sector? How can some of them be used as delivery, of course, mechanisms to solve the issue of transportation in the courier service, for instance? And how can we also use that in the medical services to transport patients in the tricycles, or perhaps even medicines or blood transfusion from the blood bank? Use the tricycles to transport all of these things. I mean, I had all these crazy thoughts in my head, and I'm pretty sure if we continue to innovate, we'll definitely make the change. And as young people, that's why we're here, to make these crazy ideas. I'm sure Auntie Harold may, have a different idea of the 30 years in the UN, but I'll bring something quite different, quite young. We dare to dream, and we dare to dream, and we dream daily. So I'm pretty sure innovation is one way we can use practically to make a huge impact. And I'm seeing you winking your eye many times against this whole definitely stop there.
No, I agree. The reason why what I read because my background is public policy. Completed public policy at the University of Oxford. So when you highlight the issue of transitioning existing policies to more empowerment, I think that's a critical aspect of how we can be able to enhance opportunities in Africa, because there are a lot of policies existing. We don't need new policies, but we need to be able to ensure that we ratify older policies with transformational progressive mediums. So we'll take one minute. We don't have time for questions, right?
30 seconds.
Yeah, just 30 seconds.
I don't want somebody to work in here and then take it into their own time. That's fine. We have 30 seconds. And then
Yes, so for me, I just wanted to say, I would call on governments to make sure you really listen to women and to young people. Really listen to what they're saying and listen to what their concerns are. And in doing so, that you don't only look at the policy there, I agree with you, Yunisa, but that you look into localizing, because not one all size fits all, and now what's happening in the General Assembly is necessarily going to trickle down to your community.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, everyone. We really wish, just a little information, this conversation will also continue. We have an open invitation if you have a CSW pass. We have another panel that will be hosting in conference room 2 on strengthening women, young women and youth on the civil society engagement. So if you have the time, definitely show up. Conference room 2, conference room 12 on the 19th in the UN. Thank you so much, everyone.
come on, everybody. Let's give it up for ourselves. Thank you both very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a very, very rich 90 minutes. Thank you all for your time.
I have to take a picture.